All right, babies, it's that time again. Oh, yeah. We are in Acts 16. In Acts 16, shows Paul with Timothy and apparently Luke, the writer, because at one point he switches from speaking of Paul and then starts saying we. So we know that Luke wrote Acts because the language in it is identical to the book of Luke. His name may not have been Luke, but we know it's the same writer. So they're out and about looking for opportunities to preach the gospel. And in some cases, the Spirit of God is saying, no, don't go over there. And they're like, oh, okay. And no, don't go there. All right. So what's happening? And then all of a sudden, Paul gets a vision of some guy in Macedonia saying, come help us. So then it becomes clear, okay, that's why the Spirit was saying, don't go here, go here. And that's the type of thing I am encouraging all of you to do the same in your life. Live in such a way that you're paying attention and you prioritize and want more than anything to hear the Spirit of the Lord in that way, to say, do this, don't do that. Yeah, baby. That's where the life is. Oh, yeah. So they do that, and what happens? They get persecuted. You're like, then maybe I don't want to follow the Spirit. Yes, you do. Because there's no greater honor in the world than to bear and share in the sufferings and wounds of your eternally beloved husband, Jesus the Christ. Oh, yeah, baby. So if you have to get thrown in prison because people don't like to hear what you're saying, and you get beaten before you get thrown in prison, yeah, baby, count it all joy. And that's what Paul and Timothy were doing, because at midnight they were singing. Oh, yeah. Praising God for the very reason I just said. Feeling worthy to share in the sufferings of Christ, and knowing that by being faithful, something good is going to happen. People's lives are going to be changed. And what happens is there's a miraculous loosening of their bonds, and the jailer he gets all nervous that he's going to be well, let's just say I might be mistaking something there. He's convinced, because of the miraculous releasing of their shackles, he wants to be saved. So they lead him to salvation, accepting Jesus in his life, and there you have it. Then the word gets to the bosses, and the bosses, now they're afraid. They're like, all right, get rid of these guys. Clearly, we don't want to mess with these guys. And Paul says, hell no. Paul says, oh no, you guys beat us openly, then you can openly come and own your error and release us publicly so people can see that you were in error. And that's what happens, and they move on, and there you have it. And I think there's somewhere in there some woman named Lydia. She and her house are saved. She opens her home for them as they're, going about their travels. So, yeah, that's about pretty much it as far as I can remember. If I'm missing anything, I apologize. But I think I'm getting to the gist of all of it, which is, in our lives, we have like so much security and protection, and everyone's kind of doing their thing. And, the preaching of the gospel is done in the context of, a church. So no one's getting, there's no threats of persecution. But in some parts of the world, people are still being killed for being Christians. So what does that have to do with us? Well, we're all one body. And if people are being killed because they're being openly Christian, then we have to figure out what it is God wants us to do to help. And I'll tell you what, I don't need some vision of them telling me to come help them. No, I live my life in such a way as to be a help to them. So you can see I'm openly who I am, and this is my way of showing the world that Jesus is alive, loving, and ready to work with whoever you are. And if our prayers and our lives can help release their chains and their oppression, then that's what we need to commit ourselves to. Yeah. And also, not only to help those who are in serious persecution at this very moment, but also what things in our life needs to change so that we're facing the threat of persecution. In other words, if we're making decisions to avoid persecution, then that probably is a red flag for us that we need to be more open about our faith, so that the Spirit of God has the opportunity to demonstrate His power and protection in us. That will be a sign for those who are about to come into the presence of God and experience the regeneration of His Spirit. Yeah, baby. That's what we need to be doing. That's what I get out of Acts 16. If you can hear this, the rain is making the weekend a cold and somewhat unpleasant experience for all involved, which is basically everyone. How are you going to escape the rain? Oh yeah, baby. I'll tell you one other thing. How are you going to escape the rain of God when we allow His Spirit to move in us in such a powerful way that the entire world is changed by the authority that we've taken to move into what is rightfully ours? Because God has given us all good things based on our faith in his gift to us of his Son.